There was a time when immigrants came to America and felt grateful to be in this great country. That they knew that they were in a land of opportunity to make a better life for themselves and their families. These immigrants happily assimilated to American culture and language without batting an eye. Sadly, those days are behind us, and now we have immigrants entering this country not feeling grateful, but rather entitled. They are under the assumption that they are allowed to usurp our laws and enforce their own. Well, one migrant thought that he could get away not following police orders, and quickly learned a tough lesson in respect. The founder of Islamic Civic Association on Staten Island, Hasham El-Melaji, was boarding the Staten Island ferry when he was stopped for a bag check. Instead of El-Melaji simply obeying the random bag check, this entitled decided to throw one hell of a temper tantrum. El-Melaji was eventually arrested for this absurd outburst, but then had the audacity to claim that he was singled out because he was a Muslim. Of course, this makes absolutely no sense considering the political climate we are in today. The NYPD is extremely careful not to racially profile anyone in order to not find themselves sued by some social justice warrior with a camera and a blog. The reason that El-Melaji was checked was a security checkpoint, and that is all. El-Melaji is just trying to make it impossible to be stopped so that jihadists can carry out mass murder unchecked. According to Staten Island Advance, a religious and political activist on Staten Island claims he was placed in handcuffs, frisked and issued 2 summonses by NYPD officers based on the way he looks. Hasham El-Melaji, who was born in Egypt, was temporarily detained and searched by police at about 8 a.m. Wednesday at the Staten Island Ferry Terminal in St. George, after he refused a random bag check. After a search of his backpack, he has issued summonses for trespassing and disorderly conduct and allowed onto the ferry, police said Thursday. El-Melaji, the founder of the Islamic Civic Association on Staten Island and chairman of the Staten Island Libertarian Party, said he believes the bag check wasn't so random. He took to Facebook hours after the incident, saying he felt singled out because of his Egyptian heritage. "I have no doubt that many people are in fact stopped randomly, but the manner this was done in my particular case made it feel different," said El-Melaji. He said there were at least 5 people in front of him carrying purses and backpacks when an NYPD officer walked into the crowd, extended his arm and ordered him to a table for a bag search. "I said no thank you," said El-Melaji. He replied that he's not asking me, but telling me, and I replied again, "No, thank you." A spokeswoman for the NYPD said there are no set guidelines as to which passengers are selected, such as every 5th or 10th person. "There's no science to it," said Det Kellyanne Ort. "It's like flipping a coin." She said El-Melaji was not personally selected. Many other people had their bags checked during that same time frame. But El-Melaji argued police were in violation of the 4th Amendment. The amendment protects the right of the people against unreasonable searches and seizures, and no warrants shall issue, but upon probable cause. NYPD policy states a passenger is not required to hand over their bag, however, they would have to find an alternate form of transportation. A policy that El-Melaji said also is a rights violation. "It is an infringement of my right to travel freely without molestation and due process of the law." Random searches of bags in the New York City subways, commuter railways, and on buses were first enacted in 2005, under Mayor Michael Bloomberg, as officials expressed alarm about the latest bomb incidents in the London transit system, according to a New York Times report. "Oh, for crying out loud, is this guy for real?" This random check was not an infringement on his rights but a part of living in a world post 9/11. This is what is to be expected considering that terrorists were, in fact, responsible for killing 3,000 Americans in the name of Allah. Also, this had nothing to do with El-Melaji's race, and the NYPD called him out and his faux rage. The NYPD noted that many other people had their bags checked during that same time frame, including whites, blacks, and Hispanics. After all the terrorist attacks we have seen happen around the world recently, having a random bag check is really not that big of a deal. And, If he does not like that, then he can go back to the Middle East where he belongs and leave the rest of us alone.